Hey y'all, I hope y'all are doing well today. I'm coming to y'all from my living room. As you can see, we're not in the garden today because this is a special little video. You might think of this as just a little extra edition video. This is a gardening channel. As far as I'm concerned, it always will be, but I wanted to do something a little bit different in this video. For those of you who are interested, I wanted to tell y'all how I became a gardener, and it ties very much in with my testimony. So you may see me on the channel out in my garden, and maybe you wonder how I became a gardener, what led me to gardening, and I can tell you the exact month and year that I became a gardener. May of 2014. My husband Ryan and I, who you may have seen him a little bit on the channel, and he does my videography for me, we lived in another neighborhood called Grove Park, and it was their annual garage sale where all the neighbors in the neighborhood brought their stuff out, and it was kind of fun because you could walk around and look at all the stuff. So it was around 8:15 or so in the morning on a Saturday, and we had our coffee and we were just kind of strolling the neighborhood, and we came upon a friend of mine who was an older lady, and she was standing in the driveway of a woman who was in her mid-80s. Her name is Miss Ann. As we got to talking, our mutual friend asked me if I had ever seen Miss Ann's garden, to which I responded, no, I would love to. And so I was brought back into Miss Ann's back gate, and as I walked into her back gate, it was as if I had been transported into a fairy tale. It was amazing. Miss Ann had a small backyard, and it was surrounded by a privacy fence, but she had a cottage garden complete with boxwoods, all the things that you could possibly think of, layers and layers of shrubs and beautiful trees, and it was unlike anything I had ever seen in my life. In that moment, something happened in my heart. It was as if I became a gardener in that second. I knew nothing about gardening, but something in me said, I want this. And the most amazing thing about Miss Ann is that she was in her mid-80s and she still did all of her work, all of her trimming, all of her digging. She did it herself. And so I was amazed by her. Now, one thing I've noticed about our culture in general is that we can turn on YouTube, we can turn on social media, and we see these people in their gardens or whatever they're doing, and we assume that they have a problem-free life, and that's just simply not the case. And I thought to myself, the one thing I want to do on this YouTube channel is I want to be real. I don't want to put on airs and act like I've got some perfect life. And so that's been one main goal that I've had with this channel. And so I have to kind of rewind a little bit and tell y'all the beginning of the story that led us up to that Saturday morning in Grove Park. So my husband and I were married in 2006 here in Dothan, Alabama. We both grew up here, and we both went to Auburn University, where we started dating in about 2001. And throughout the course of our college, we both became heavily into, the party scene, as people sometimes do when they're younger, and it really started in high school. And he and I both were just doing the things that come along with that lifestyle, abusing alcohol. He had picked up a few more bad habits in college, prescription pills and gambling. And so when we got married in 2006, that really did not change. In fact, it just got worse. And so in 2012, we had been married about 6 years, and it was the fall of 2012 that things were just really getting pretty chaotic. Like, if you've ever known anybody who's been in that sort of life, or if you have yourself, you know that it's chaotic. And is destructive. And so you can imagine that our home was not a very happy place. Well, my sweet mom, who y'all have yet to see on the channel, but I'm trying to get her to be in a video, she was a part of a program at our church, and it was where older women mentor the younger women in the church, the younger married women. And so she kind of talked me into doing that program, and it was a 7-week program. And upon entering that program called Soul Sisters, I began to meet younger women who were part of our church and older women who were taking us under their wings and teaching us the gospel and about the scriptures, and something sort of just began to pull at my heart. Like I wasn't happy anymore with the way that we were living. And so, kind of to skip over a whole lot of the details, in the fall of 2012, I know that it was God who brought me to the point of being just completely at my end with the alcohol abuse that I was taking part in through a series of really hard circumstances. And so I became just really weary of it all. Meanwhile, Ryan, my husband, he was still going full force. He's a sweetheart and hilarious, and I love him dearly. But he had a lot of problems and some deep issues that really just had taken hold at a young age. And so anyway, it was about a year since the event happened that caused me to be really just unsatisfied and terrified of alcohol. It was a year's time that passed, and Ryan eventually got to the point where he could no longer deal with what was going on in his life either. He had gambled away a whole lot of money. He was doing a lot of things that I was not aware of, which later I became aware of, the pills and everything like that. But we decided that it was time for him to go get help. And so we had heard of a place in Albany, Georgia. It was a men's rehab center, and it was a Christian-based facility. It cost $40 to go. It was not government run, so it was just sort of like it ran on donations. And so it was kind of an amazing place, and it was a 3-month program. And you guys, took him up to Albany, Georgia, and within a week or two, he was writing me letters saying that he wanted to come home. Well, I sent him a letter, and in that letter, I basically told him, I love you too much to come and get you. I love you too much to expect anything less from you than to finish this program. And I have been told that that was courageous, but honestly, I don't know if it was courage or if it was just desperation, because by this point, I had become so tired and so exhausted in the way that we were both living. And so he told me later that that letter was what made him actually start paying attention to the AA classes as well as the devotions and the spiritual part of that rehab. So on December the 5th of 2013, he went up to Albany, and it was about December the 16th that he was sitting in the chapel, and there was a preacher preaching a little devotion to all the men. And my Ryan, he heard about the gospel. He heard about the grace of Jesus Christ, who died for our sins. He heard these things for the very first time in his heart. He had heard them before, but he had never paid attention until that day. It was that day that he went up and he spoke to that preacher, and he decided to give his life to Christ. That was December 16th of 2013. I went and I picked him up at that rehab on Christmas Eve because the men got to go home for 2 nights over Christmas holiday. He was a different person. Y'all, I kid you not, it was not something that I can explain, but as soon as he got in the car, there was a difference about him. He was at peace. there was this peace that had come over my husband, and I had always just seen him frantically searching and being restless and trying to find things to fill that hole, and it was like he could never find it, and it was as if he had just found it. And still at that time I had no idea what to make of it. I just knew something was different. And something else important to add is that it was in April of 2012 that April of 2013 that I had decided the same thing, and that was to stop trying to fight this on my own and just surrender my life to the Lord. And that was when the wheels all started turning, which led about 6 months later to Ryan going into this rehab. Well, over the course of those 3 months that he was in Albany, I would go up and I would visit him on Sunday afternoons, and he was just a different guy. I mean, he actually told me, I'm tired of living this way. I don't want to do this anymore. And so in my mind, I actually felt freed for the very first time, because if you've ever been in this situation, you know that it's hard to live in a home and you're trying to do the right thing, but the person who's living in the home with you is not. And so that was a huge challenge for me, and it just wasn't working. And so when he told me those things, I knew in my heart that I had been freed as well. So he came home March of 2014, and it was as if we had a new marriage. All the darkness, all the destructive habits, they had just been wiped out of our lives. And it was in May of that year, so a couple months after he got home, that we were walking around on a Saturday morning with coffee, which, let's just be honest, that would never have happened before. And in that moment, I was just grateful that we both were freed from the bondage of alcohol addiction, and were able to get out in the morning and do something fun. And it was that very day that I went into Miss Ann's garden, and something sparked in my heart. And it wasn't long after that I began to do an overhaul on my little backyard that was so simple and plain. I knew nothing. All I did was put like 5 hydrangeas in a line along the natural area, because I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was that I was just trying to make this something beautiful. And there was no way that I could have done that before, because let me put it in gardening terms. There were too many weeds in my life that God needed to get rid of before he could bring in the beauty. That's just the way that I look at it. He had to clean out a lot of things. And so over the course of 7 years leading up to us moving into this house, I just was so passionate about making a garden in that backyard. And I say this, like, I think that talent can get someone a little ways, but I honestly believe that passion and perseverance takes us further towards success than talent ever will. Well, I had passion. I started to soak in things from my neighbors who were gardeners. I started watching Linda Vodder on YouTube when quarantine hit, and that really amped up my knowledge of different techniques and principles of gardening. And so the reason that I wanted to put this video out there is because I don't want anybody to think when they watch my YouTube channel that I have this perfect life, that, there are no problems. And I just want to always be very transparent and real when I can, because I just feel like there's somebody out there who might need to hear this, that you're not alone. If you're struggling with something, you're not alone. Every single person who is watching this channel, including myself, we go through struggles. Life is not easy. Life can be really hard. You're not alone. But what I want to say is I'm living proof that God has a plan for each and every person's life, and he can take the mess and the trash and turn it into something beautiful for his glory. And so when you guys see me out in the garden, I want y'all to know that this isn't for me. It is partly for me. I love it. It's just the joy of my life. But behind it all is a good and loving Father who has been so kind to me and so gracious to me and has freed me from all sorts of things that wanted to take me down and destroy my life. And I also want to say that while Ryan and I were both freed instantly from this, from alcohol abuse and addiction, it doesn't happen that way with everyone. And I encourage anybody to do those things that are resources, such as AA or whatever there is. But ultimately, my message is that we desire to be free more than anything else, not just sober. And sobriety can be achieved through AA, and I totally believe in that. But I do believe in the power of Jesus and the freedom that comes with knowing him. And so, listen, what I want to say is it doesn't matter if you don't believe what I believe. That's okay. Anybody is welcome to this channel. I don't want to make it seem as if you need to believe what I do in order to be able to take part in this channel. If you love gardening, if you want to learn, and if you have some positive things to give, you are welcome. But I just want you guys to know my story and where I come from. And every time I'm outside and I'm digging in the dirt and I'm out there in the light, when I spent so many days and nights huddled up in the dark, not feeling good, just living so below what life is meant to be lived, I'm thinking about the beauty and the marvelous creation that God has given me the privilege and the gift of being able to just play with and enjoy. And that's what we have as gardeners, is the ability to just go outside and enjoy nature and just partake in the beauty of it. So I hope that you will be encouraged hearing this message. I realize that this message may not gain me popularity with some people, and maybe I will lose some subscribers even from coming out and being honest about my faith. But this is the thing. I did not start this channel to have 1 million followers. I didn't start this channel to even have 4,500 followers. I mean, the fact that there are 4,500 people who want to follow me along in my garden and care about me and my garden, it's amazing and humbling to me. And if I happen to lose some people for this, then so be it. Because if I can help somebody through this, then it's worth it all. So I'm heading out to the garden. The next time you see me, I will be in the garden and you will be with me. I just hope that I can encourage somebody today that you're not alone and that there is hope no matter what you're going through. And we've just all got to be real, okay? Nobody gets anywhere by trying to put on some fake image. So y'all, I just love y'all and I appreciate you guys so much. I consider y'all my friends, and I just hope and pray that y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all in the garden. Bye.